Why are the FUJIKURA Ventus Velocore shafts the most successful shafts on tour at the moment? And how can this technology help the average player? Let's take a deeper dive into the advantages and disadvantages of the Ventus Black shaft. So have a quick look at the specifications for this shaft. So I was using a tailor-made QI10 9-degree head, so trying to get as close as possible to Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. The weight of the shaft, this is the 6X shaft, 65 grams, the torque 3.1, and I measured this on my frequency machine. I was at 256 and I was using a 45.5 length shaft, and with that head the swing weight was D4.7. Okay, so here we are on gears, and I've overlaid the same swing, so we're going to see this in different positions. So I'm just going to take these both up to the top. There we go. And I'm going to take one of the swings now just down to where I get to my maximum hand speed. So up the top here, my hands are pretty much at 0 miles an hour. And I'm going to take it down to my maximum hand speed, which is just about here. And there, at that moment in time, I'm about 21 miles an hour, which is not particularly fast, but saying that, I'm not particularly fast anyway. So about 21 miles an hour. And that's going to coincide with the maximum lag deflection I'm getting out of the shaft. So even though I'm not moving my hands particularly fast, there's still some lag deflection going on in the shaft. So this is a pretty stiff shaft, but it's still moving a little bit here. So it's moving enough, but not too much. So about 21 millimeters of lag deflection at this point in time. So moving on to the next part of the swing, I'm just going to move this down now to shaft parallel to the ground. So from here to here, my hands have now slowed down by 4 miles an hour. So I'm down to about 17 miles an hour here. And the shaft has gone from lag deflection of 21 millimeters to a slightly lag deflection of -2. So the shaft has already pretty much gone back to its original form at this stage now. So from this position, I'm just going to take you down to impact now. So with the blue overlay, I can just move this into impact here. So from here to here, so about -2 of lag deflection at this stage, and at impact we're now at +26. So we've definitely got some lead deflection. It's definitely kicking forward. So there is energy being transferred via the shaft, even though it's very, very stiff. So it's not just a metal bar which isn't moving at all. There is energy being moved around. So we've gone from some 0 to 26 here in lead deflection now. But what was really interesting for me as well, if I just go up above now, just here, from here to here, is from this position with the shaft parallel to the ground to impact, the torque numbers were extremely low. So at this point in time, I was at 0.09 degrees open, or the torque was just slightly clockwise, i.e. the shaft was moving slightly to the right if I was above here. And from that position to impact, the shaft moved basically 0.05 degrees, so pretty much nothing. So it's maintaining its form from here to here. And I think that's one of the major reasons you're going to see a lot of good players playing with this shaft. And also, I think, a reason why a lot of other players, a lot of amateur players should be playing with this sort of shaft. Obviously not a 6X shaft as heavy and as stiff as this, but why not this sort of profile where we can reduce torque and reduce the way the shaft is moving all over the place in the swing. So the advantages of this are obviously multiple. You're going to have less dispersion. And another thing which was very interesting for me, if I just put up to this screen, is the way I was hitting it. It's just incredibly consistent as far as impact point was concerned. So less torque, a stiffer shaft, meaning it was easier to move the club in the way I wanted to move it. And impact point became very, very consistent. you actually look at face to path numbers as well, they're very, very tight as well. So less dispersion, better impact point, and maybe the only thing I could say which is the disadvantage would be just that it was being a little bit heavier and a little bit stiffer. I wasn't able to move it as fast as I can normally. So that would be the only disadvantage I could find from this shaft, basically. So if we could get a shaft which is slightly lighter than this, maybe just not a lot of stiff as well, that would be a great combination of being able to generate speed and obviously less dispersion.
So here's the ball data, and as you can see, well, this is definitely slower than my usual ball speed. But as I said, it's just because I couldn't swing the club as fast as I do normally. So I think more related to the weight, probably a combination of weight and stiffness, but definitely a little less ball speed than usual. Launch angle was lower than usual as well, and spin reasonably low, well, quite low as well. I think definitely the thing I take away from this was just the way the spin axis was much more neutral, less curved to the spin axis than my usual big draw. These were just pretty much just straight pushes, just leaving slightly right of the target and staying there. And distance was actually pretty good considering the lack of club speed. So all in all, actually very, very positive. So to summarise, you can definitely understand why players like Scottie Scheffler or Rory McIlroy are playing this shaft. But I think more importantly, I think this should make you understand that this sort of shaft could be interesting for the average player as well. Obviously not as heavy or as stiff, but this sort of technology is definitely going to be helping with the dispersion and with impact point, which is obviously very important as far as performance is concerned. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments below, and I hope to see you soon for some more videos.